This one hack saves me 4 hours a week. It saves me over like 100 hours a year. So number 4, and I'm kind of reticent to say this, but I want to make sure you understand where I'm at. First draft only of a standard operating procedure. You want to say, record a video, voice member of yourself doing a routine task. You want to feed the transcript into AI and write a step-by-step standard operating procedure for your team. And the cool thing is you just created a training manual in 4 minutes. Now, the way you do this is you create a video of it, but you just need the audio. And what you do as you're doing it, I want you to describe what you're doing on screen. Okay, so the first thing we do with our CM, you go to this place and you log into the CRM. Make sure that when you're doing this, you press the following button, not the following button. And you literally just narrate what you're doing. Now, I've heard people say like, oh, just have it look at what you're doing in video. That is literally the worst set of ideas ever. Just do it yourself and explain what you're doing to the machine and why you're doing it. Even if you have to go in a little bit of a circular fashion to do it, you can do that. And it makes a big, big difference on what you're trying to do. And you can actually come up with that first draft in just a few minutes. And that is a huge piece for a lot of people. I think the challenge is I've seen people like, I talked to a client of mine the other day, and he told me, he said, oh, I used it to write standard operating procedures for my industry. And I was like, you just didn't give it context? No, I told him what industry it's in, and it came up with a pretty good thing. And I was like, that is not how you guys probably do business. Now, maybe it is. Maybe it is. And it may be better than nothing. The challenge with it is, if you had nothing, here's the thing. If you're starving to death and someone brings you a moldy piece of bread, you're going to eat that thing right up, weevils and all. The reality of it is that does not mean it is a great piece of bread. It's just because you were desperate. Do a little bit of work. Walk yourself through your process, talk about what you're doing, and record it. Grab that handy dandy recorder and do that. Number 5, the content repurposing multiplier. Here's the way it works. You're going to take one piece of content you create and you're going to turn it into multiple pieces of content. So you're going to take a podcast transcript or a long email, and you're going to prompt your AI, something like Easy Prompter, which, by the way, is a piece of software we make to help simplify this for you. And you're going to turn it into a blog post, 3 different social media hooks. You're going to turn it into a newsletter snippet. Now, this has a little bit of diminishing returns. Each one of these things will need to be polished up for that particular application. The AI doesn't always do such a great job of doing that. So if you just take your podcast transcript, like this podcast right now, and you said, turn it into a blog post. Well, this particular podcast episode has 10 points. I could probably turn it into 3 or 4 different blog posts. And I still have to think about my audience, like who's consuming that information versus who listens to the podcast. They're not the same people. They might have overlap in the audience, but you really want to think about that. And you want to spend that time, that executive function, that 30% more of your time doing that on the back end. I also think content repurposing works better if you start with that end in mind. Begin with the end in mind from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you know where you're going with the content in the long run, it's much easier to design your podcast or have pieces around that design for after the meeting. Number 6, data formatting and cleanup. So this is a messy spreadsheet or formatting contact lists. Any of those things used to take hours and hours and hours. If you can get it out of Excel into a CSV, you can clean it up even if you don't know how to use Excel. By the way, I'm a magician and a wizard when it comes to Microsoft Excel, and I have not written many functions in the past 18 months because I'm using this. I think you want to format it in a clean CSV. If you still want to go look at it, sometimes you have to give it to your boss and they only want to see it as an Excel file. I think those things are really important, and I think that's what you can do. But make sure you put your data into an approved, secure AI tool. That's the expert piece for that. Number 7, complex document summarization. I kind of hate using this because anytime I give people this tool, they always use it the wrong way. It's like the kid you give fireworks to and you said, don't hold this in your hand. But no, the bottle rockets are cooler if I can shoot them at my friend. And then they invariably blow up. This will blow up in your hand if you don't do the right thing. And I've seen all sorts of people do this. So you're handed a 50-page PDF or a dense industry report. You can use the AI to extract an executive summary or identify the 3 most important trends impacting your specific industry. I think that is important. I think it's a really cool way to use AI. but there be dragons. Make sure you've at least read the article. I think it's a really good way to reinforce what you've learned. And I know you don't have a lot of time, but a lot of times the nuance in the articles is why you need to read it. Now, I think it's very, very good to help summarize it or give you an idea if the 50-page PDF is worth your time to sit down and read. But if you're going to use it and trust the data it extracts from it, I recommend you have read it because there's a lot of gold in them hills. And when I say hills, that's your footnotes, the end notes. I think there's a lot for you to read and understand for having consumed the article itself. And I think this is one of the most dangerous parts of AI. And I kind of hate having given you that tool, but I think you use it that way. It's very, very powerful. Number 8, email triage and de-escalation. Now, I used to use my account managers for this. I would have my account managers read emails that came into me. I wouldn't get them very often, but you'd get an angry or highly complex client email, and the human instinct is to react to it very defensively. And so I'd ask people who read my emails for me, just be like, hey, David, you need to pay attention to this. And I would just be like, summarize it for me. I don't need the head trash and garbage that's going to come out of this email. Don't need it. Nobody needs it, right? Your client's mad about something. Maybe they just got served with papers or something like, who knows? And they took it out on you. The reality of it is that AI is a good way to feed the email into it, ask it to draft a neutral, pathetic, solution-oriented response, and it removes the emotion and it speeds up the resolution. Currently, this is one of the main things I'm using agents for right now, is to go through my emails and just literally just boil them down for me. Plus, it's really been pretty good at getting rid of the spam. I get 500 emails a day. Only 30 of them are actually stuff I should be wasting my time reading. You get these random emails, like somehow I got on an email thing. I must have applied for a loan or something. Apparently, I'm into family dentistry or something. Everybody wants to acquire my dentist office. Don't have a dentist office. I don't know how I got on this list. Anyway, but the AI is really, really good at going through and getting rid of all that hot garbage for me. So, by the way, this one hack saves me 4 hours a week. It saves me over like 100 hours a year. Like that's 2 weeks of paid vacation off for me. And I can't tell you how much it gets rid of the mental workload for me. I think it's great.